We're coming up on
Uh-huh.
just trying to do that little 50 thing. Something for the community.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Me and Adam Smith going to the library and looking at stuff. It's been fun.
Mhm. Yeah, like who goes to the library anymore? For real?
Nobody.
Have you been over to the history, the museum?
So he has, and we're gonna go.
Okay, because I didn't say if anybody, are you looking at microfiche?
He has.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that gives me a headache looking through that.
That's where he found some of the stuff about the, so we're at now, it's on a microphone.
Yeah, I wonder where else we would have this.
Yeah, we had a lot of that same first time around, $75 a year for 12 gig box.
Yeah.
I bought a lot back then though.
Oh, yeah.
That's a long time.
I know.
Well, some of the names, it's just funny comparing things around town, we get around as long as we have been. But hearing some of the names, you know, even for Kevin, Herschel Knight, even Zayman, Linda, her, I mean, it's just amazing how many people are involved with the fire department. It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, you guys ready? It's just gonna be a called meeting to order with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Jim Constantine,
Here,
Larry Fabina is absent, Daniel Marsh,
here,
Tony Biancardi.
Here. Okay, we have the approval of our minutes from September 21st.
make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, and then we have some correspondence for a refund request. I did look at that, but do you have something to share about it, Corinne?
I do, yeah. So back in May, Scott Moore with T&M Custom Homes came in and took out a sewer tap connection permit for the home at 1134 Gustafson Lane. The homeowner decided to go a different route and not use that builder anymore. So he took out his own permit. So they
So
separated
that
their
paid twice.
contracts. Correct.
Okay,
So because the sewer permit is non-transferable, we asked the homeowner to take out his own and then
Okay.
told this guy he'd have to ask for a refund.
Okay.
So he's,
that was my question when I saw it, was just that it hasn't been completed and did somebody else pay, so.
correct.
All right, so I think we'll just need a motion if you guys wanna do that.
Make a motion to refund it. Second.
Motion in the second to approve the refund request. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Reports, Bill, do you have any,
Nothing more than what's on the.
anyone have questions for Bill? All right, everything's been okay.
Yeah, we've been busy with some little glitches. Adam and I, most of them's been during working hours, so we've been able to catch them. We have a lot of, I don't know if it's electrical or a lot of computer issues, communication issues. So I got Spadata working on it on the backside. Some of it happened while I was in French Lick, so I caught it, and you'll see that on the flow report. We're missing some data, but other than that, had to pull a couple pumps, but everything's running good.
So maybe you've already said this, but so the data and stuff, is that something you can see like on your phone in an app too, or do you have to be down in the station?
So I can only, there is an app that you could get downloaded, but I haven't messed with it yet until we've got all the glitches figured out, because then that's just another thing that I have to do. But I do have it there, and I have it on the laptop that actually it's on my tablet now.
Okay.
But there is an app that you can put on the phone once we get it all figured out.
Mhm.
So
Okay, just curious, when you're out, you're able to manage that.
yeah,
Did Larry provide anything for the plant?
He did that.
Okay. And is our engineer on the video? Okay.
Nope, she is not connected.
It's been quiet. It tends to be quiet this time of year, I think. Old business, future infrastructure, again, just to keep this on there so that we don't lose sight of anything. Is Bill, are you seeing anything as we're coming to the end of the year that's necessary?
I haven't had any holes or anything, any big problems pop up that seem to change anything.
And we didn't meet last month, but are we pretty, like, all of our projects and everything, are we all like closed down on that? We have our pumps, there's nothing sitting out there open.
Not that I'm aware, we have the one invoice that's on the table that that it wasn't our fault, it was the fault of the company. They actually billed it wrong. So that invoice is in to be paid. Other than that, I think that's the last thing that we gotta hang out there.
Okay. You guys got anything else for Bill? All right, I feel like it's almost getting too cold for tours of the plant now. I mean, I'm not interested in going out there right now, so.
Consideration too, if you're gonna get started with slick out.
Oh, absolutely, yes, yeah, totally.
They don't want the responsibility if somebody falls and get hurt, and you don't want to.
No. So we could probably just take that off, Corinne, and then figure, yeah, if Larry mentioned something, coordinate it via email or something like
Okay.
that. The other old business that we probably need to continue talking about is the makeup of the board. So it does seem that we do need to make sure that we are set up the way the IC code is, which means that the council representative to this board would be the president of the town council, which is not me. And that would be Jennifer. So that would be one of the first moves that the council would need to make. And to make sure we're doing things right, I guess that would come up in December. The other thing is that there would be the council representative and then 2 voting members. So a total of 3. And one of those, no, help me out, Corinne.
One is a professional
One
engineer.
voting member has to be a professional engineer.
Correct.
Okay, so that would be something that we would, I guess. Need
Only
to
question
speak
I have
out.
about that is if you only have 3 people voting, one of them don't make it, then what do you do?
It's tough, you have 2.
I mean,
No, you
I
could
can't
do this.
comprehend, it's something I can't comprehend. Is. How do I word it? They're basically dictating. That. Only
You
3
can-
people are voting, and if one of them don't make it, if something's important, it's gonna float another month.
Well, 2 can vote.
Yeah, you
2
still have a
people can do
quorum.
business.
And if 2 people say, one says yes, and one says no, now what do you got?
Well, you're right. And
That's
then
just like I have a quorum then.
right. I agree.
You would need 2 of the 3 to have a quorum, and you're right, Jim, that if it's a 1-to-1 vote with 2 there, you're gonna have to wait till the next month for the 3rd person to get there to break the tie.
And Clay, it wouldn't be appropriate for our town engineer to be that voting member, correct? Because they're an employee of the town.
Correct. You know, I'm looking at the statute, they have to be a registered professional engineer. And they cannot be, you know, a municipal elected official or employee, so you can't put 2 council members and an engineer, or you can't put, you know, Bill can't be on there.
So I feel like we need to, you know, advertise and say that we are looking for someone who is a professional registered engineer to sit on the board. And then between Dan and Jim, I think it would be great for you both to remain on the board. At that point, though, one would be a voting member and one would be a non-voting member. So I don't know if either of you have a preference, if you want to go by.
It makes no difference. I like to stay on the board. I got 1 more year of this term left. I dug out the paperwork. I'm good until December 2023.
Okay,
I like to stay on after that. I've been here about 18 years already
right,
on this board.
yeah,
As far as I'm still kind of concerned on that, you're really not gonna have any. You're gonna have two people on the board that are actual town citizens, and that's it.
Well, the professional registered engineer, my preference would be that they're a town
But if you can't
resident.
find one,
But if you can't find one.
I got a town board president
Mhm,
and one citizen,
mhm.
and they're outnumbered 3-2 on town citizens being on this board.
Yeah,
There's one thing, when you're in a big city, it's got 500,000 people. You got something to choose from. But in a small town like ours, I told you, 6 square miles,
mhm.
and you're putting us in rabbit hole, truthfully. If you only got two people that is actual town residents,
Mhm.
and only one of them technically is gonna be a voter. And that's one thing kind of excuse me,
Mhm.
the concerns me about that is, it's one thing if you're a big city, but we're not a big city.
Well, and I'm not a fan of boards of less than 5, for the quorum, and even just for the balance of, knowledge and opinions and voting, but. I think that our goal should be to start moving towards getting the board in place the way that it should be. First in December would be that, Jennifer then as president would come on to the board. And then again, like between the two of you, if either of you have a preference to be the voting member or the non-voting member. And then seeking out a registered engineer, and then Larry would continue, so he'd be the 5th, but he'd also then be a non-voting member. So,
I have no problem with it, I really don't, it's not a matter between Dan and I, swap off.
well, and that's what I was thinking too, Dan, if you're willing to stay on the board with the changes, you might change your mind. I think that it could be something that each year, the council could say who's gonna be a voting member or non-voting member.
Yeah, I would see the voting member portion to Jim, respecting his longevity in the town and his background and knowledge, and that's not a question with me. I have other activities actually on the 3rd Wednesday of the month that they want me in at my American Legion post.
Okay,
So I was considering after the end of this term, probably taking off because
okay,
I plan to be in Florida anyway.
okay, and when does your term end?
I think it's February.
It should be December 31st of a particular year. I'd have to look. I'm not sure off the top of my
But
head.
if your commitments, obviously, if something changes, we can, fill the seat anytime that you
Right.
make a decision.
Yeah, I of course, I'll sit in as long as you need me.
Okay.
But there's other things that
So then do you feel like while we're looking for an engineer, we should just go ahead and start putting out to see if someone else is interested in a
Sure.
seat? Okay, and then that way you have that flexibility.
Yeah.
So if we want to start doing that, Corinne, and we'll,
May I?
Excuse me, my next question is gonna be, if you get a professional engineer, a licensed engineer. Is he gonna get paid his hourly rate, like an
oh
attorney?
no, he
I
wouldn't,
mean-
no, our town engineer is getting paid. Whoever sits on this board is not gonna get paid.
That's,
So-
that makes it that much harder, people in it.
Yeah,
I didn't even start thinking about that, these guys make $200 an hour like an attorney.
you can fix the board can fix the compensation for anybody who's serving on the board. So that could be changed, but may I ask a question of
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Were you able to explore any other alternatives to the makeup of the sanitary board or, a utility service board or something of that sort?
I mean, if we wanted to call it that, I was never able to get who, and I will look through my emails. Did you have
Uh-huh.
someone that you actually spoke with at AIM? Because I could not find the email of whoever told
Yes.
me that, because I could not get a hold of anybody there.
Okay, yeah, she took a little bit to respond to me the first time, but I can certainly send you that, or I can reach out to her directly and see if she has any
I mean,
thoughts.
yeah,
Either way.
if you want to reach out to her, since you've already communicated with her,
Okay.
And she, you know, if you reply to the email chain, it might refresh her memory better than some new person, new name contacting her.
Okay.
But as it stands now, it's under Indiana Code 36-923, and the title of that chapter is Municipal Sewage Works. And
Right.
and that just for everybody there, and including Dan and Jim, but this chapter applies to all municipalities. So I understand the size of the community, but this applies to all municipalities, you know, in Indiana that have municipal sewage works. And it's, you know, the statute says the sanitary board established under this chapter consists of the municipal executive, which is a town council president, and 2 persons appointed by the municipal legislative body, one of whom must be a registered professional engineer. The legislative body may not appoint any paid or unpaid municipal officer or employee to the board. And then it goes on from there talking about the terms and stuff like that. But as far as the makeup, it's 3. It's the town council president. It doesn't even say that other person has to be a citizen. I think it's advisable that they are. So at least 2 of the 3 are citizens of the town. And then that 3rd person is a registered professional engineer. Obviously, that's not going to be easy to find one that lives in town and is willing to do it.
And then Clay, it's a board of 5 though, right? Then there's an additional 2 that
Well,
are,
you can have, it says the sanitary board shall select a vice chair from its members and shall select a secretary and a treasurer who need not be members of the board. However, the board may combine the offices of secretary and treasurer into a single office of secretary/treasurer. The officer selected serves at the pleasure of the board. And then it talks about compensation. So yes, you can have additional board members, but they aren't, it's weird.
They're not really board members, I
Yeah,
guess.
they select officers, but they're the how the statute is written is very poor and / confusing. But you can select a secretary and a treasurer, but they're not voting members. I mean, in my view, the secretary would be Corinne.
well, I mean, an alternative would be great, but in the meantime. I think, you know, moving towards this, and if we get some better information of an alternative that would work, we can just, you know. Switch and go that direction, but. You know.
So I guess I got a few more questions.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I'll be here till after December's meeting. If you've got another member, a professional engineer, I guess.
Okay.
Take my place.
Okay.
If not, I'll hang around until you get that person or until I head south.
Okay.
But I guess my other question after hearing all this, Jim, maybe we can renegotiate our pay.
My first 12 or 13 years of what my time spent here.
Right, yes, it was.
The real question though is, every town and city in Indiana has to follow these guidelines. It has a sanitary board
If they have a sewage plant, yeah.
if they have a sewage plant.
But now does that fall in there that if they are in control of the sewage plant, there we go to another bag where we actually don't have control of the plant. Because that's what the engineer's for, is to be control of the plant. Where they have an engineer in the plant.
That's a good point.
I mean, we're entered into an operating agreement with the mill, so I guess we do have control over
If they get
that
fined,
agreement,
if they
you know what I
get
mean?
fined, we're on the paperwork,
Right.
Renee and I have sat in on it, so
But
like,
they've already got an engineer in the plant.
which is, wasn't Ray Belunda an engineer? And that's why he sat on the board, because he was an engineer.
Okay,
So while I appreciate Larry, I mean, I think he has done great things for this board. Quite possibly, we could, maybe through Larry, we could say, this is what it needs to be, and whoever's out there operating, because that's what Rick would do, come to the meeting as that engineer. So maybe the engineer comes from Cleveland Cliffs.
Cause there's where we got it now, we got. An engineer. Firm,
Right, that is.
we got Bill as our town engineer, he's been here since. things
Well, he's
started
not the
out.
engineer, he's the superintendent.
He's a superintendent, he's a paid employee.
Right.
And now you wanna get another protection in here.
Well, and that's how it used to be with Rick. I think that maybe that's the key for the professional engineers, maybe to reach out through Larry and explain the situation. And again, while I totally appreciate and enjoy him being on the board, Cleveland Cliffs could still be represented on the board through.
There may be a PE in his department.
Right,
They just
yeah,
switch responsibilities and that portion could be filled. And then would they become a voting?
they
member?
would.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
so that would have to be reiterated to Larry as well. Somebody willing to do that and have to show up. I think the guy before Larry didn't show up too much, right?
Yeah,
Towards the end.
right. Yeah. I mean, I can email Larry.
Okay.
I'll email him tomorrow, and
So what happens to you then?
I just sit home on Wednesday nights.
Kicked
And,
out?
yeah. On the third Wednesday, yeah, I'll be at home, because I can't,
It makes me really sad. I'm sorry.
it makes me sad too, because between all of us in this room and whoever's on Zoom, this is like my favorite board.
Yeah, you've been on this board now for 8 years,
Well, and even longer, because I used to be the
Yeah.
secretary.
that's what I'm saying,
Uh-huh.
8, 10 years, all right.
A lot of time to really learn it and understand it.
There's things I know that I never would have, like, just, you don't expose yourself to that stuff that I'm like, wow, when people are having conversations, I'm like. really? So, all right, I'll reach out to Larry about the engineer situation. And then we'll work at the council level with Jennifer. We'll have Jim as the third voting member, represented of the community. I guess we'll just see how.
But we still gotta make sure that all 3 of the voting members be there, so we can pass that.
Correct.
That's the bad thing, is
I know.
if that third person doesn't show up,
It's on the other two. And I will have to say, though, I think on this board, we have a lot of good discussion, and I think the discussion gets us to better decisions, but in the end, we've all, I think, came to the same agreements.
A few times we differed.
Yeah, but over time, I think, and the most important thing is just being able to meet monthly and approve claims and, make sure Bill has what he needs. It's the larger, projects that definitely need everyone here.
It's a well balanced board. It's a shame that we had to disturb it.
Yeah. I think it just kind of, something just happened.
Going
Well,
backwards.
I think just over time, I think because it didn't make sense, we made changes, but never really kind of went back and looked at the basis of the original, how it was set up, so. All right, well, I think we have somewhat of a plan.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes. All right, new business approval of claims with 3 or more signatures.
I make a motion to approve.
So
I have 3 or more signatures.
We got a motion in a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. We also had 4 POs. I think we all put our initials on the back, so we need a motion to approve those.
motion to approve for purchase orders.
I'll second it.
Motion in a second to approve the purchase orders. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Any questions on the spending review, delinquencies, or the flow report? And Bill did already mention there was some SCADA issues, which is why some numbers are missing. All right. Good of the order of the community and any other business?
I was reiterate to you guys, you'll see if you didn't get in, because I'm saying I just got back. There'll be a small claim just for my travel. I went to the damage prevention. Actually learned quite a bit, that we probably start utilizing here in town, especially things like the water that we had. Just got hit, got it with the sewer, but anyhow, it was in French Lake. As much as I don't have to, French Lake is actually well worth it. So it was a good 2-day seminar, some pretty good speakers to talk about how to prevent some of those things, like some of the board flues and stuff that we've had. There's a couple extra steps we can start taking as a town. And I was not aware of that we could do. So learn something, we're going there. So thank you for letting me go. It was well worth it.
Announcements, other than the next meeting is scheduled for December 21st.
So I have one more question I just thought of. If we need to rewrite that section of our code, I forget what chapter it is, but for administration of the sanitary board, do we need to have a public hearing here first, or does it need to be town council level? Does it matter in the end?
I don't
Because it's
think
not-
it would matter. I mean, ultimately, I think the council can handle that. Do
Yeah,
you
I
think
mean-
so, Clay?
Having it start at the town council would kind of take a step out of the process.
Okay,
So I
And
don't
I
think,
feel like it's more administrative. I think when we changed the text in terms of how things operate, and it certainly should start here, because if we have a public hearing, people can ask us of the board who is the one,
yeah,
that is making the change. But the administrative thing, I think the council just go straight there. Okay. Yep. Okay,
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. So are you still doing overtime?
Oh, no.